Octavia wore her father's long old coat. Her boots sunk deep in the slush and mud that was between the slave shacks. She was moving into Renee's shack to start learning the dark arts. Octavia had only a large knapsack when she stepped on the wooden porch. The small shack was farther back from the other slave quarters. Several red-painted horseshoes were nailed over the front door, and a pair of rabbits' feet along with cowbells and wind chimes waved in the cold wind. The door slowly opened just before Octavia knocked on it. Renee was expecting her. The shack was filled with all sorts of strange objects. This was Octavia's first time entering Renee's abode. No one ever came to her shack uninvited. She lived alone after her mother died, and she demanded her privacy. Like her mother before her, she always got what she wanted. Octavia stood motionless as her eyes moved slowly and undressed every object in the room. There was a small square table in the room with a chair on both sides. Wooden slats covered the dirt floor. Several sets of brightly painted masks hung on the wall. They had male and female features. A pile of human and animal bones lay on a green piece of velvet fabric in a corner of the room. Large bunches of roots and dried cane hung from the rafters of the one-room shack. A large black boiling pot hung inside a crude fireplace, which was placed in the center of the wall. A cane stock mattress was on top of a big wooden cypress bed. The bed was larger than any of the beds the other slaves had. Olivia's mama and papa were the only ones to sleep in a bed. The children always slept on a pallet on the floor, unless one of the children was sick. Sickness was something that Octavia hardly ever experienced. But her twin brother, Octavius, took on that role better than anyone on the plantation, especially when it was cane cutting time. Octavia was puzzled at everything she saw and had a question on her mind. Why is her bed so big? Octavia thought to herself. The bed is for me and my spirits. Renee answered as if she heard her thoughts. Octavia's mouth dropped open. How did you know what I was thinking? Octavia asked. I know the thoughts of everyone who comes into my shack. The idea of Renee knowing her thoughts made Octavia fascinated even more. What am I thinking about now? Renee hesitated for a minute and walked to a small cupboard. She took out a large piece of cornbread and a piece of smoked ham and placed them on the table and asked, Do you like buttermilk? Yes, ma'am, I do. I was thinking about what you were going to give me to eat. I got some gingerbread in my sack if you want some. Yes, Octavia, I do believe I will have some of your gingerbread. Renee smiled and walked over to Octavia and hugged her. The two women ate their first meal together and slept in the same bed that night for the first time. The meals would be many, and the nights would be long and mysterious. There would be days when Renee worked her magic and made food appear on the tin plates from out of nowhere. Then, there were the nights that Renee lay next to the young naive girl, and she proceeded to teach her more than the dark arts. But to be a master in the dark art, the making of love and capturing one's heart was the most powerful part of controlling a victim. At first Octavia was not willing to participate in the unseemly bed behaviors that Renee was trying to introduce to her. Her soft kisses were the girl's weakness, and Renee knew exactly how to gently mold her into submission. The night filled their minds with strange dreams. Some nights they both had the same dreams and compared their adventures before the sun arose the next day. But then, there were nights when the beast, the Rougarou, would come for Octavia. She screamed throughout the night. Renee was hiding in the dream and Octavia had to face the beast alone. Then, she would awaken to the girl's cries and laugh out loud in the darkness of the night. The story of the Rougarou was a myth that told of a large hairy wild man with the face of a wolf. The slaves believed the beast would come in the night and snatch a person from their bed. He would hold them for 101 days. If there were no contrition, the beast would kill the person, and then they would burn in hell for eternity. There was no such thing as purgatory for a slave. The slaves were much more afraid of the Rougarou because of this. Ma Ani could hear her daughter's screams in the night. Little did she know that some of the screams were the screams of pleasure and ecstasy from Renee making love to her daughter all through the night. She clutched the wooden cross tightly and prayed to Jesus to save her child. But her hands were tied. Octavia had no other choice, except this one. She would have to learn the dark arts.